Please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
So we're going to let him go first with a couple of different things. So all yours, Mike.
Okay. So those of us who watch Tech for Seniors, I keep putting an S on it, but I know it's only Tech for Seniors, knows that there's a running battle among the co-hosts as to who has got the neatest gadgets and perhaps the most gadgets. So I want to be in that competition.
I thought it was who could spend the most money.
So you are looking at what showed up on my doorstep, actually 2 days worth of doorsteps, because I've already opened up the other. I decided that I was going to get myself a file server, and it's actually a network attached storage put out by Synology. So this will be a very quick run through of what I did. I mean, I could spend 3 hours doing nothing but going over it. Sean knows there's so much involved with Synology disk stations. So here's my unboxing video portion, assuming it's going to see, I have to select it. There we go. Okay, so after I opened up the bags and boxes, you're looking at the Synology disk station in the box on the right. You're looking at what I thought would have to be 2 file trays to adapt two SSDs, two terabyte SSDs to the file server, which eventually I didn't need because Synology thought about that and had the necessary holes to do it. That's in my pictures as well. So we unbox everything. There's the file server sitting in there. I've been talking with my sister out in Los Angeles, and they're shutting down a business that's been in business for about 15 years, and they've got an old file server, SQL file server, mounted in this great big monstrous computer, I guess. I'm not quite sure just what's in it, but we get down to the size of these things being about 1/10 of what they used to be. So here's everything unpacked. On the right is the Synology box, and they come with this new box. Actually comes with dual Ethernet capability, so they can bridge those two together and get better transmission, they say. But that's basically what comes with the file server, except for the trays. So the other interesting thing is that that's a front cover, and it's just held on by a magnet. Nothing to unscrew, nothing to unhook. You just reach up and pop it off. So when you pop it off, there's the trays that will hold your 2 drives, which you can put into a RAID array. And here's the system tray that I pulled out, and you can see that it has the holes necessary for a 2.5-inch device. And these on the sides here are little inserts, like the inserts we used to have in our desktops. And if you're putting something here, you can just pop. There's a little button here and a little button here. You just pop it out, and then you can get your 2.5-inch device in it. So that's what I did. There's the first 2 terabyte SSD sitting in one of the trays. And this is how it aligns when you see the tray from the bottom. So it lines up perfectly with the connector that's sitting down in the body of the unit. And there's not much more to the hardware setup except put it where you want it, connect up the Ethernet cable or cables, connect up your power, which I have running to a very nice APC UPS smart hubs. And the only thing I had to do is it's located on a desk to my right, which also has my new security NVR installed. And I had a cable coming over from my router directly to it. So I went out and I bought a 4-port switch and just put a 4-port switch over there. You boot it up, and there's the interface that comes up. I have what you do actually is you bring up your browser and you go to findsynology.com, if I remember correctly. Goes on your internet, or it goes on your web, your network, and finds it. And it comes up and tells you the IP address and the MAC address, and lets you confirm it. So installation, I mean, it is so intuitive. You have a few things to do as far as you know, who you are and whose device it is, and the make and the model comes up and shows you that. And there's the connection screen that actually came up. It's a little out of sequence. So what I saw came from hitting that connect screen. And obviously I blocked out my IP address, MAC address, and serial number for purposes of this presentation. One thing to note is it came with their software version 6.2, and later told me that's the latest version, but I knew that version 7 had came out. So before I did a lot of configuring, I wanted to get the upgrade, which I was finally able to do. You go into the setup, tells you to get the latest install. But when I did that, it basically said, no, you do have the latest install. So then I did manual install, and I was able to actually download the new software and install it. So once that got done, it comes up, that's the screen that you see. And you can pin this if you like. Tells you it's working, tells you the server and the details, and maintains a running resource monitor for you. And you can get all kinds of reports if the resources go low. The basic unit comes with 2 gigabytes of RAM, but I've ordered a 4 gigabyte expansion, and that should be in tomorrow sometime to update. And I have done some things where the RAM was up at about 80 to 85% usage. I did put an antivirus package on it and told it to go scan. And I could see that it was using about 85% of the RAM and about 40% of the CPU doing its scanning. Then comes, page after page after page after page of settings. And so if you go on YouTube and you search setting up a Synology disk station, you'll find several hundred videos by probably about 20 or 30 people. So I sort of, last week as I was considering the purchase, I went through and filtered those down to about 2 or 3 that I enjoyed watching. So you can actually go through these configuration videos, and they'll tell you, you know, what to do for all these settings, what, you know, whether to enable or disable them, what your options are. And of course, we have our own expert right here, Sean, who has one in his house. So I'll be making use of whatever time he's willing to donate. So I set up security, I set up the firewall. There's things like denial of service protection, you know, to prevent malicious attacks. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. You can block excessive login attempts. You can block untrusted clients. You can actually set up a trusted client. Even with a trusted client, you can block them if they try too long, which would mean somebody got to their computer and then tried to get on your server, I guess. You can go through encryption for secure connections. And, you know, some of these things I just took the default settings, but lots of stuff to look up. I have no idea what Spectre Meltdown is, but it's another, they say it'll impact system performance, but apparently it's also designed to prevent people from breaking in. The services that you've got to connect to different devices, both on your local LAN and on the internet, are an interesting screen to look at. The one that I've got circled there is SMB, and that I found out later after talking and corresponding with Sean that that's your Windows file sharing. So I've since enabled it. But SSH, which is the ability to log into a device remotely using Linux. I guess you can do it from Windows command line also. was recommended to disable unless I was actually going to use SSH, so I turned it off. And I know Bonjour is related on the Apple side of things, and I don't have any Apple devices that I need. Nor do I expect anybody with an Apple phone using Bonjour or a Mac to be logging into my server, but I guess I could enable that if I had to. Different things about the memory, power recovery, things along those lines. You can set the thing to hibernate if you like. I leave it on 24/7 right now. And this was, okay, this is actually what I got when I did finally get through and get the software. So things to do to get the latest version 7 update and some new stuff that's there. Given the fact that I haven't even used the old stuff, it's all new to me anyway. And talking about some new stuff that they have. And I told them to check on a regular basis and automatically install important packages. And then this is a summary of the help screens. You actually have a wizard that pops up as you updated the unit.
Right, yeah.
And the wizard will take you through each one of these sections. And then within each sections, there's things to check off and do. So it's kind of user intuitive until you get to the boxes that give you the options. And then you sort of have to look up and see what you need to do. You also can get a couple of different apps that you can put on your cell phone. You can have your cell phone find it and start sharing stuff directly with the file server and pulling it off on your local network. And you can also have two-factor authentication, which is another app that goes on your phone, so that anybody logging in, has to have two-factor authorization if I set it up. So that's what I would do if I actually shared an account, say with my son or something like that.
Hey, Mike.
Okay, so go ahead.
So the two-factor authentication, you don't have to use their app.
Oh, okay.
You can use your, I think you use LastPass, right?
Yeah.
You could use LastPass and keep it all in there.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I sort of thought it worked the same way. It even had the fingerprint recognition in it, for me to log into it. But I just put it on. That's good to know. So it is a file server. It is a network attached storage. So what you have to do then is, and I had done all this stuff before I even put the disks online. They were there. They were functioning to store the operating system and the packages. But in terms of making space available to me, I hadn't even started doing that until probably about 9 o'clock last night. And then what you do is you take a pool of drives, in my case 2, and make it available to the unit. So I selected my 2 drives, and I have 2 RAID, as I said, two SSDs, 2 terabytes. Shows that I set up a storage pool, and it is using Synology Hybrid RAID, which is a version of RAID 1, but it's more technically diverse in terms of how it allocates space. So that was recommended to enable. Then they have, this is actually a Linux box. So it's running a version of their own Linux, their own distro of Linux. And as such, even though we see the stuff that's stored there in the formats that we're used to seeing it, it's transparent to us. But you could have actually enabled the Linux file system, which is ext4, but it's got all kinds of, again, it was recommended to use their BTRFS, which is shared folder snapshots and so on, quotas and advanced data integrity protection and things like that. So anyway, I set the data pool up, did a drive check last night while it was going, came back 100%, which was good. I have no idea what data scrubbing is, but apparently it's something I may want to enable. Looks like their default frequency is every 6 months, so I'm not really sure exactly what it's doing, but eventually I'll figure it out. You can actually reclaim space as you delete stuff. And again, this is another reason why you want to use their format for the hard drive in order to be able to do that. You can adjust how your RAID is synchronizing the drives, faster, slower, so on. I noticed that you could set up a schedule for reclamation. And I said, well, I really don't want that running during the day when I'm possibly using it. So I just set it up from midnight till 6 a.m. and figured I wouldn't be using the file server anytime during those periods. Okay, so we got some things for drive health and lifespan notifications. That is a risk of using an SSD in a file server like this. Typically, the drives that are recommended are these heavy duty, long life Seagates and Western Digital that are designed for network attached storage and file servers. But I figured, well, a 2 terabyte drive is less than $100 now in an SSD. I'm using that brand in my desktop computer. I'm also using it in my security systems. I said, well, I'll go get 2 of those. But the nice thing is, whatever it's doing to monitor the availability of sectors on the SSDs as they go out of service, they'll send a notification to alert you if the lifespan is getting down. I might increase 10%, maybe to 30%, or just something to let me know that I've got to think about getting another SSD to replace it. Okay, so now you got the drives. Now you have to set up users. And the idea is to use the administration account absolute minimum and don't make it available for remote login unless there's a specific reason. And just as you can do on Windows and Linux, you can have users that don't have administrative privileges. So
Hey, Mike,
go ahead.
I think by default it sets up an account called admin. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you disabled that account?
It is disabled by default, even though I set it up. And I'm sitting on my, I've taken it off my browser at the moment, but I was sitting on my browser attached to the admin group when I was setting things up. But I normally, to get files like in Windows and things like that, I would log in with my mic account.
Okay.
And there was the sharing for Windows, and all I had to really do was just put in my work group, which we don't really use much these days, but is still there. I don't know, but that's something you could check, Huey, is on Windows 11 where they still use the work group concepts. But that's all I had to do, and immediately it showed up in my file manager. The work group was there, and I could log in and do it. In fact, if you need to try to find it in Windows Explorer or File Explorer, all you do is put in the name of the file server right here, and it goes out and finds it.
Mike, you mentioned that you're not going to do remote access, correct?
I will do my intent. Okay, I'm not going to, other than my son, maybe. My intent is not to have a remote user, but the applications such as photos will let people access their photos with a link. And Sean just did that with me today. We were trying something out, and he showed me how he could set it up so that I could just click on that link. I'm not a member of his file server, and I could see the picture that he posted in photos. So that's the kind of use that I want to make it available for, is to make photos and personal videos available to the family using the file server.
What is the purpose? What is the purpose of you having a file server, other than the fact you can?
No more cloud drives, no Google Drive, no pCloud, which I'm currently, if I get to that today, which I probably won't. No, no more Dropbox, no more Google Photos, no more Amazon Photos. Everything will be on the file server that I would like to share. And when I go to, I can share it with my devices, with my login, I won't give the login credentials to anyone else. And then I can
That's still
share.
that's
Go ahead.
still remote login then, isn't it?
No.
If you take your laptop and you're out in Omaha
Yep.
and you want to log into your drive, that's a remote access, isn't it?
That's remote access. But my intent wouldn't be to do that. Instead, I would share a photo folder, and that folder would have an IP address or would have a named address. And Sean and I are working on that. He's got something I haven't even dug into. You're welcome to talk about it tonight if you want to. Sean talk. It's called Zero Tier.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Huey, Mike and I are going to set up Zero Tier. We're going to create a free Zero Tier account. That's an open source SD-WAN type product, and we'll install it on Mike's computer and on his NAS, his Synology, and we'll allow both of those devices to connect to the Zero Tier network. And then when Mike is away from home, he'll be able to access the Synology as if he was there, because they'll both be on that private network. Kind of like a VPN, but it's just between two devices.
And as far as sharing pictures, which was one of my primary reasons for doing it, is I probably have about 50,000 pictures, and I have no idea what the total storage is. And I just have to decide, am I going to actually go through and put subsets in the Photos app for it or not? Not sure if I will or not. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward. There's where I set, that was my first effort at setting up a folder for photos. And all I did, I hadn't even installed the photo app yet. And I just set it up with a shared file for photos. But I couldn't get to it because I hadn't set up the Photos app yet. I mean, I could get to it by browsing to it as an administrator. It was there, and I hadn't worked on it with my initial setup. When you're done going through all, and that's only probably what we looked at, is probably only about maybe 40–50% of the settings that are available in this thing. I mean, you need to go to school, I guess, to figure them all out or do the research on them. But anyway, this is the screen that I see in my web browser when attached to the Synology. And you get your system health and you get your resource monitor. The package center shows you all of the apps that are available, because you are literally running a file server. It's not just sharing stuff. And you get a control panel to control it, and here's where you would share files. Donna Armitage raised her hand. Donna, you have a question?
I'm unmuting. I'm wondering, if I want a home network, do I have to go through this whole thing?
No.
I thought, okay,
No.
all right. So, but I want to share 3 computers and a couple phones and an iPad. I still don't have to go through all this, right?
No, that's called a peer-to-peer network. And,
Okay.
and no, you do not have to go through.
No end.
I have gone well beyond my level of comfort with this particular device, but it's a challenge. So the reason I say that is and Sean did say to me, initially I was having problems sharing my photos just with the IP address without punching a hole in the firewall of my router, which I don't want to do. And he showed me how he does it right now, and we'll see how we do it if we get Zero Tier to work. So I said, well, he said, are you going to return this now that you can't do what you want? And I said, no, because this is just a sample of what this device can do. This is every package that comes up on it. I mean, there are business applications, there are multimedia applications, there are all kinds of server applications, cloud synchronization applications, You can even set up, you know, we've talked a lot about using a DNS service. You can even set up your own DNS server for your home network if you want. All kinds of backup programs that'll automatically back up every computer that's on your network. Yeah, I thought I heard a question. Okay. An iTunes server too. Although you can share your stuff from iTunes now on your home network just using iTunes, this actually will become your iTunes server and centrally located if that's what you want to do. And I have no idea what some of these things are. You can set up proxy servers if you want. You can other kinds of file servers. I have no idea what the Presto file server is. I don't know why you would want to have a PDF viewer on your file server, but I guess you can. You can have your own mail server. So that's interesting. You know, no longer have to use a mail provider and just have your own mail server. Okay, so there's even more stuff. It comes with 2 licenses for retail camera use, and you can set up your own surveillance NVR, if you will. I have an NVR, so I don't need it, but apparently you can do that for that. If you want to chat with people all over the internet and not use a chat app that's tracking you and logging what you're chatting about and so on and so on and so on, you can set up your own chat server if you wish. I don't see it here, but you can set up your own game server for playing online games. And apparently,
then you can learn how to do your own tracking.
Yeah, that's right. Gather the data. Here's another mail server. This is what I installed, the Synology photos. This was before I installed it that I got this screen shot from it. And as Sean said, you can set up your own VPN if you wish. And let's see, this was WordPress for doing your own blogging. And most people, a lot of people who use WordPress do it on an ISP's account or your account on an ISP, and the ISP hosts your blog using WordPress. Well, here you host your blog on your own file server and make it available to the world if that's what you want to do. Lord. I've heard of Apache servers before. I have no idea what I would do with it, but apparently you can set that up. This is something.
Apache server is what you set up a website on.
Okay, so then you could do as long as you've got the ability to get to it, you know, now you're opening it up to the world, I guess, if you do that.
Yep.
This is something I'm currently using, SmartSync Pro, something I bought a number of years ago, and it lets me synchronize 2 drives, actually using the Xcopy utility from DOS and Windows, early Windows on steroids, but doing it with a GUI background, SmartSync Pro. And so this might be interesting to see if I can synchronize from the file station to all of the computers and devices that are on my network. So I might look at that. Ken would probably recognize this one, Kodi Explorer. It's the ability to stream multimedia. Some sites that you may not really want to go to, but you can get to them and you can set it up, I guess, if you wanted to do that. Whoops.
Yeah, you can watch Bears games.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, stuff. So I did install Synology photos and installed some extensions. I had to set up home service, apparently, for personal space for it. I had to confirm it. It says this is what Synology Photos does. Makes managing photos a breeze is what it says it does. Manage photos your way. Sounds like exactly what I wanted to do. Well, Yeah, except this is an early version of their latest software. And it is not a replacement for Google Photos yet in terms of the way you organize your photos. Right now, you can create an album on Google Photos and manually rearrange the photos in that album in the order that you want them to be displayed if you do a slideshow. Can't do that with Synology Photos yet. We'll see what they're able to do. Meanwhile, I'm continuing to examine other sources. They have their own facial recognition. It's running right well. The only thing I put up there were pictures of the Synology that I'm showing you now. So there's nothing on the photo server yet that has facial recognition. But if you turn it on, which I did, it's supposed to recognize pictures with faces and then put them into their own folder. And it's a virtual folder, so you're not duplicating what's in that you've just uploaded. You're just the facial, the people album in your personal space is a cross-reference to what's you've uploaded and what other people have uploaded. If you turn it on and you let them know it's available and running. And you're supposed to be able to get to your photos anywhere, anytime, but again, you have to turn those services on to do it. So I'm still playing with that. Okay, so I've taken up 30 minutes. I have some other things to talk about. If there's time between now and 8, I can. If you run out of other things, otherwise I'll pass the baton. Let me stop sharing.
Very nice. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So in the competition with Tech for Senior, I put Synology Disk Station in the running.
Okay, I'm next here. Then
What
I got
was
a
the
couple
price of that, Mike?
3 something for the 2-bay disk station, little less than 100 for each of the 2 terabyte drives. And then I did buy a 4-port switch. I don't know, $30, something like that. Less than $500 for the whole package.
Got it.
You know, and if you did something like this 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know, how long ago did you get yours, Sean?
He's not there right now.
Not less, okay. But I'm sure Sean paid a little bit more for his, although I don't know if he's got more than just 2 discs in his disk station or not. The question, Sean, was how long ago did you get your Synology, and in rough numbers, what did you get? Like 4 discs or 5 discs?
No, I've got the absolutely least expensive one from about 5 years ago.
And what did you pay roughly?
It's I paid less than $200 for it.
Oh, really?
It's a DS214 SE. So it's got 2 drives in it. I think they're both just terabyte drives. I really don't use it other than for testing, because I've got some clients now that have them. Well, one in particular, who is a company that is based out of Vermont, and I've got him. The reason they contacted me is they were looking to remotely connect to it from other locations, and one of those places being Hawaii, because they do work out there. And they recently asked me, if the device was located in Hawaii, could they just pick it up and move it out there and still be able to have people in South America reach this thing? And I said, yeah, with zero tier you can. So they shut it down. The guy flew to Hawaii during his trip, plugged it in, and the next day I tested it. I was able to log into it. Once it boots up, it joins that zero tier network again, and everything is like it was. So, and I was just logging into it a minute ago here, and I know that it's in Hawaii, and it is so fast and responsive. I'm just logging into the administrative console. I'm not copying files and stuff like that. That would probably be slower, but it's zippy. I'm just surprised. Theirs is a DS1515 Plus. So I don't know how many years old this thing is, but it's not laggy. Like mine's slow. I'm going to eventually get mine replaced with a 4-disc model and replace a Drobo that I have that I've never really been that happy with. But yeah, Synology is it's a great product. They make great products. So I'm excited for you, Mike, that you got this.
I'll never use it to its full capacity. You know, it's another gadget for me. But the goal, which is still out there, the carrot is still in front of me, is to get a fully featured photo application that I can share photos and not, you know, have the big tech monitoring and all the rest of that associated with it. So
Yeah.
it's still out there, still going in that direction.
I currently run a Plex server off of a Mac Mini that I purchased in late December, and I'd like to use that, repurpose that Mac Mini. And if I buy a Synology with enough storage space, I can put my movies and TV shows and so forth on the Synology and run Plex right on the Synology. So
and you can access that with your Roku, your Apple TV, or
right.
your Fire Stick.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a collection of Blu-rays, and I did have a Plex account at one time when they first came out, and I was streaming to a PlayStation. But these days, I just stream, and I don't really run, look at anything that I've had in the past. So
this is one of those devices that Ken would make good use of. You know what I mean, Ken?
Okay.
All right. Let me talk about a couple of things. One, I think it was the Apple SIG and not this SIG that I mentioned that I upgraded my internet service in the past month. Same company, but I went to a gigabit service for $15 more a month. And it's been well worth it, except it's cost me some more money. What I ended up doing is I used originally their router and their modem. And I kept their modem because it's specialized for the fiber optics. But when they changed out the equipment, they left the router that was there that I've had now for about 3 years. And the guy that did the installation, he says, that's the only one that they use. And it's not he said, it's not very good. He said, I recommend that you get your own. And I was paying $10 a month for it. So I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So I went ahead and I ordered a new router for a couple of reasons. One is on my Chromebook, I was with the 150 up and down service that I had, I was getting about 50 up and down on my Chromebook. And so when they swapped out and I had their router on the new gigabit service, I was still only getting around 100 up and down. Well, I was paying for 1,000 a gigabit, and I said, well, there's got to be a way of getting it better. And so I ordered a router, and let's see, let me share my screen. And I don't think I need sound, but I'll go do it anyway. And this is for later. It's here and here. I bought this router. Let me full screen that. I bought this router, which is a TP-Link, and it's a IP6, and it's supposed to have a lot of bells and whistles. It's got 4 things sticking up, so I figured 4 is better than 2 or better than 1, but they had some that even had more than that. But I figured this would do, and it was under $100. When I did that, I got up to using Wi-Fi. Let's see if this is, let's see. This is what it was. I got it up a little bit higher, so I was up to about where it should be. But and I can't remember when I did these, but I think this is where I was doing with Wi-Fi with the new router on my Chromebook. Obviously, it's not gigabit service. So I said, well, yeah, okay, that's good. And I tried on my other Wi-Fi devices, and I was getting mixed, but usually anywhere from 300 to 500 up and down using Wi-Fi. Obviously, I'm not going to get gigabit service. So what I did then was to, let's see, I don't want that. I want to show this, and I'll full screen this. I decided to make my Chromebook wired to see what I would get. And because it doesn't have an RJ45 in it, it doesn't have built-in Ethernet, I got a USB-C to an RJ45 adapter and plugged it in. And when I did that and then ran the tests, that's what I was getting on my Chromebook. Not bad, to say the least. So I'm quite happy with making the changes, and the fact that I'm now able to wire it if I want a lot of speed using my Chromebook. Let me. Any questions on those?
You demonstrated the effect of radio square law. It's the matter of speed is mostly generated by the coupling between on Wi-Fi. As you can see, when you couple with a wire, it goes a lot faster. And the drop off is considered is because of the square law. RF energy drops off at the square of the distance.
It's
So,
also
more
it's
power
also
is better.
It's also dependent upon what the receiver is in the device. You're in the Chromebook and in a laptop. And that's why looking at what speeds of Wi-Fi they contain, in which there's different letters, AC and AN and N and M and R and SQRZ. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. And that makes a difference of what speed you're going to get.
Yes, but it's all based on how much energy you can use.
Yeah,
But
and the antenna they're using, and
right, and inside the laptop, you're limited by your counter.
Yeah, but making it wired really makes a difference.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, even the Chromebook screams.
Nice.
Donna has her hand up.
Yes, Huey, I'm interested in that, how your USB 3, did you connect that to your router or to your modem from the router? Where did you connect the USB 3?
Okay, there is a USB 3, it's a 3C, I'm sorry. It's a USB 3C, that's the little oval one. Let me go back and share my screen again. You can see it up close here. Not this one, but this. You can see it here. It's that.
Okay.
It's an oval one, and I have a USB-C 3. The C on the side. I have it on both sides of my Chromebook.
Ah, okay.
And also on the new laptop I'm using for Windows 3.
All right. So if we don't have an
For
existing
Windows 11, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
If
that
we don't have
that's the plug that plugs directly into the computer. And using that, I just have an RJ45, and this is in essence a network card. And I think it was about 15, 20, it was around $15 I think I paid for this device. And it automatically gave me an Ethernet port on my Chromebook.
And if we don't
any other laptop that has a USB-C connector.
All right. So if we do not have
question?
If we don't have an existing USB 3C on our computers because they're older, then there's no way to use this adapter and try to pick it up or plug it in somewhere else.
Yeah, there's USB 3 or maybe even 2. They may not be as fast, but 2 Ethernet as well adapters. Just go to Amazon.
The older ones are called USB Type A.
Yeah.
That's shape. The USB that you're used to seeing is called Type A.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the square one,
that's,
or
yeah.
long one.
And
So
Huey's
it's
right. Make
only,
sure that you get a USB 3 or above, and that's that shape, and then plug that into your computer.
It determines the color. The blue color is the faster one.
Yeah.
Does your computer not have a Ethernet port on it?
no, I don't think so, but I only have two, well, I have USB 2, the old style. So I
Okay,
was
well,
wondering,
that's going to limit that'll
Yeah.
limit your speed to 480, I think, but it'll never get to that.
okay.
Uh,
Well, I don't upload a whole lot and I don't download a whole lot. It was just a question of with trying to set up a home network, do I need to have a faster way to do that? That's all I was kind of wondering.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
Now, the other part two of what I want to talk about is I've wanted to test Windows 11 before it comes out, and I only have one computer that will run it. And that's my main computer, and I'm not about to make a beta test machine out of it. I do a lot of video editing. I do a lot of Zoom meetings and so on. I'm going to hang on a second. So I looked around. I've got a couple of PC laptops, but they're all I think that the newest one I bought from Smart Guys before I moved over here 7 years ago, and it was a refurb. So it definitely won't run Windows 11. And I have another one that I inherited from somebody who bought a new machine that I was helping them with. And they gave me their old one, and that also would not run Windows 11. So I endeavored to look for used ones around. And of course, everybody is selling a used one on Facebook Marketplace and the other places where you can find them locally. They're all older ones, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money for it. So, because I only want to test it until it really gets released, which would be the end of the year. So I only need about 6 months use out of the machine. So I looked around. I was out and about, let's see, today's what, Tuesday? It was Sunday, I think it was. And I had a few extra minutes and I popped into a Best Buy, which is only 2 blocks from me. And I popped in and they had 3 computers there in the range that I was willing to go, which was 2 of them were 219, one was 249. The 249 was 11 inches. The other 2 were, I think, 13-inch. One was an Asus, and I think the other 2, the 11 and the other 13-inch, were HPs. And we looked at it with the salesperson and myself and checked it all out. And it appeared that all 3 of those would run Windows 11. They were 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage. Nothing to shout home about. But again, that's all I want to use it for, is to test it. So I ended up getting, let's bring that up here. Share screen. I ended up getting this one. There we go. It is a HP Stream 11. It's got a Celeron, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of flash. It does have a slot. I stuck another 64 gigabyte mini SD card in it that I had here. I didn't buy it, special for this. Got it home. And, it only takes a couple of minutes to finish setting it up with my Microsoft account. It did a couple of updates, but it was Windows 20 H2, was not 21 H1. So it was the last fall's update, but you can do a Windows 11 update from that. So I went out and joined the Microsoft Insiders and then clicked the button to do the update. About 2 hours later, it was a Windows 11 computer. And that's what's on the other window that I'm actually connected to Zoom with it. I've installed several programs with it. I've not done a lot of testing, but I have done some installations with it. And so far, I have not had one glitch, and I've been very pleased with it. Windows 11 looks interesting. As I said, I haven't had time to play with it yet, but I'm going to do that. I installed a software package called Screencast-O-Matic that I use on my Chromebook to create videos, so I can do the videos right from the machine without any problems. I can save them out either to the SD card or out to the cloud. And I'll be able to put some videos of what I see and do and try, put them together in the next week or two.
Is the notebook expandable either in RAM or storage space?
Probably not. Except for the fact that it does have an SD card. And I did plug I've got, let's see, I got 3 of them right here, but this one is this is a half a terabyte, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's USB, it's the blue, it's USB type A 3. And so
Well, had that
I plugged
notebook,
that in and that worked and so on. So it works as well.
had that notebook been available last January, I'd probably bought it instead of the jumper.
Mhm. The only thing I wish
Same price range.
I still want to, I keep touching the screen, forgetting it's not a touch screen, but it's a little clamshell. It's 11-inch. It's a real light and easy. So, but all I want to do is play with it with Windows 11, and I'll probably try to sell it after I upgrade to 11 on my desktop.
Well, if you think
Probably
about it,
first year.
an iPad is a 10-inch screen. So
Yep.
you have at least, the real estate of a good sized tablet. And
yeah.
the keyboard's there. So
Yeah.
nice device.
One short thing that I would like to mention, and I did post on my website, that I did want to also say, because I know all of us use, I believe, something called Amazon. Do any of you use Amazon? No comments. Okay. Oh, I can't. You know what? I bet
Yes.
I can't hear if anyone speaks. But what I want to show you is on my blog here. Is I wrote this, and as you can see, this is Robin is confined to a motorized wheelchair, and this door opens from the to the outside instead of to the inside. That's our lanai entrance, our main entrance where we live, and there's a ramp there. And Amazon, the one driver, left my router box sitting right there in front of the door, so she couldn't open the door. This is where they usually leave it, either on the right side or on the left side. And then another driver left it on the ramp as well. So I decided to write this article saying, Amazon, please train your delivery people. And then I linked this article to my Facebook page, knowing that even though I put an at Amazon, and so it showed up in the Amazon group on Facebook, I knew that wouldn't get any results. So what I did is I went on Twitter, and I also said something, and I posted the pictures. Within 5 minutes, I had a response from Amazon apologizing the fact that they needed some more information, and they would follow up on it, and they would escalate it to a different group. And then I got a nice email from them the next day saying that, thank you, sorry for your problems. We understand how it would be distressing, and we're checking it out, and we will contact the drivers involved and make sure that they are trained properly. So Twitter does get results, boy, if you want to use something and mention something, long as you're, honest about it and talk about it. I definitely got some results out of it. Didn't get me anywhere except for the satisfaction that they know about it and they're going to respond to it.
Huey, did you tag Amazon in your post?
I'm sorry?
How did you how did you just post it, or did you tag Amazon in some way on your Twitter?
An at sign, I think it's an at sign Amazon in the tweet,
Right.
and it went right to them. It showed up on their page or their Twitter account.
I'm going to the listen only mode, guys, switching over to Chicago Computer Society.
Okay, and I'm done, and I'll pass it on to somebody else. I think three
And
things.
Mike, before you leave, I have something. We just talking about Amazon.
Yep.
In the Altamont Springs area, 436, maybe 2 miles from 434, there was a quite large gym that has gone through several different hands right next to a Tuesday morning that's shut down. So they were both empty, and there's been all sorts of construction there. And I just found out that's going to be an Amazon grocery store. They're going to be almost competing with Aldi's. They're going to have lower price. There will be some whole food brands, but there will be a number of things in there that will be much less expensive than what they're selling either on Amazon now or at Whole Foods. So it might be another 3, 4, 6 months before it opens, but I thought that was kind of interesting just to bring up.
I'll also make an Amazon comment. I've recently had some things to return, and typically those of you that have returned, although you can go to Kohl's and turn them in there, but typically you print out a label and you take it to UPS and drop it off. In fact, I did that. Well, those 2 trays that I wanted to return today or yesterday, actually, when I printed the return out, instead of saying, print this label out, take it to your UPS drop off, it said, do not package. Take your items and print out this barcode and go directly to any UPS store and just drop it off at the counter, and they will consolidate the returns in one big package and save packing and all the rest of that. So where the closest I had to do that before was at UCF, which has an Amazon store itself. Now any UPS store, any formal UPS store can now take your returns directly without you having to rebox and repackage and label and all the rest of that.
And you don't even need to print anything out. You can actually just show them the QR code on your phone.
Yes, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes Amazon will just say, keep the package.
Yes, that's happened to me
I think it was $15.
Yep.
And it was defective. Well, I thought it was defective. And they said, well, just keep it and we'll refund your money. Oh, yeah, it was something. I bought some milk on, this shelf-served milk, and they added sales tax. And I wrote back to them and said, well, and I live in Florida. There's no sales tax on milk in Florida. And Amazon came up and said, we're refunding your money. And I talked to Amazon, and it says, Amazon is refunding your money, not the seller of the merchandise. And you just keep the milk that you have, and they'll go back to the seller and get the money from him, or just write it off. And a number of things, if it's below $10, they won't even bother to send it back. Just keep it, and we'll give you a refund.
I also noticed when I took something back with the QR code, as soon as they do the QR code and give you the receipt with the tracking number on it, when I got home, I already had the refund. So they don't wait to receive it anymore. They consider that receiving it at the UPS store. And
I experienced it with that as well.
Yep. Mike, see you later.
Okay, bye, Mike. Donna. All right, who's next? Paul, you got something you want to share?
Yeah. I'm going to, before I grab my phone, that's my other video. login where it says Paul. I need to go over and get my phone, but as most of you know, I got hit by lightning a couple months ago and lost a multitude of electronics in my house, of which most have been replaced or repaired. I didn't know at that time that my main ham radio had a problem. I turned it on, everything worked, everything was good, so I figured I was good. When I went to use it, I realized it wasn't transmitting properly. So called Icon, they will not fix it anymore, too old, they say. And I got a number for this guy who's the Icon guru of repairs out in the state of Washington. I really never, I contacted him, but I couldn't get a response from him. There's another guy out here in St. Cloud who has something to do with repairing icons, and I had a little contact with him, but it went nowhere. And I just got so frustrated. But basically it was transmitting, but with very, very low power, just a couple of watts, you know. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have to do this myself. So I dug my heels in and I got a schematic off the internet and started looking at some DC voltages, and there wasn't much to work with, but I did have something to look at. And so let me grab my phone. I'll show you what's going on. So let me see if I can make this thing work here. Can you all hear me? Whoops. Okay, how am I doing now?
We hear you.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you fine.
I can't hear you. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't hear anybody. You can hear me. Okay, so I don't
Yes.
have to hear you. Okay. So to make a long story short, here's the schematic of 80 of like 30 schematics for this radio. And there were 3 drivers up to the final amplifier. Make a long story short, I wound up in this area here, which is 2 FET transistors, which basically drive the finals. So this is the radio. And the finals are here. This technology is different than anything I've ever worked on. And I worked in military stuff for Lockheed for 25 years and in electronics for 60 years. And this has really got me on my toes. Anyway, this little board here, if you can see where my finger is, it's got 2 transistors on it, which is transistor FETs. And that whole board is held down by 16 pins, which I couldn't get out with all the soldering equipment I've got. So anyway, surface mount technology, which I've got training from Lockheed in surface mount technology. And so I started watching YouTubes on repair, and I had to gear up with a whole new technology of stuff that I've never worked with. This board here actually came out of a DirecTV box that went bad. I never threw out the box, but I ended up stripping the box out. It was just laying in my closet here for a couple of years, and I took the board out so I could play with it and threw the rest out and saved the hard drive. So I bought this unit over here. The light's terrible. let me angle it up. This is a heat gun. And what this thing does, that's the gun, and it's like it's like a heat gun, but this thing runs at 800 degrees, up to 800 roughly, and you heat the entire device to remove it. You can't remove a lot of this stuff with a soldering iron. So I bought this device. And then I go, well, where do I get these transistors? And these guys out in Washington told me, well, you got to get a replacement. So, I mean, I was really didn't know which way to turn. I ended up calling Icon Parts, and they got the parts. I said, okay, send me the parts. So they sent me 2 transistors, and with shipping was about $50. And but in the meantime, I can't get that little board out of the radio. So now I had to go buy another soldering removal tool that's got a vacuum pump in it. And it's like a soldering iron with a hole, but it sucks solder out. And I used to use those at Lockheed, but I really had no need for them at home until now. And, solder wick, and I have got these 2 other solder pullets, but the pins are very close together. I couldn't get in there. I couldn't get the job done. So I had to, go out and buy all this new equipment, which I'll probably use. But so I'm like doing this all myself. And, I hope this all comes out okay, because getting these 2 components off, you've got to heat these things to like 300 degrees, 400 degrees, and then take them off with tweezers, and then putting them back on is the reverse, and you have to make sure you don't unsolder anything else. Very, it's a whole different world of soldering. A lot of this stuff probably been put in there with machines. I don't know, but I got to get the board off, and then there's a heat sink on the bottom that's got to be unsoldered. And there is a video on YouTube that kind of gives me a good head start as to what I'm in for. So hopefully I can get the transistors on there, solder them on there, and don't destroy them. In the meantime, while I was sitting here during this session, another really interesting thing is my solder removal tool. I just found this I found this company called, and I found it on the YouTube's called AliExpress. So, I checked them out. They seem on the up and up, and I was real hesitant to really, throw $120 at it. But I figured, that ain't going to kill me if everything went south. But everything really looks like it's clicking along okay. But so I ordered, let me see here. Well, actually, I'm going to take a step ahead and then go back. The parts I ordered from ICOM, I just found them on AliExpress at like half the price, because all of this stuff comes out of China and Japan. So I may order a couple of spares just for the darn heck of it. But the thing I bought, I'm not sure if I can show it to you, because I'm trying to let me see if I can pull this thing up. Okay, so this is what I ordered. And this company sells everything. I mean, shoes, everything, and all kinds of electronics, and the stuff is really inexpensive, but you got to wait for it. It comes from across the pond. So this is what I bought: a desoldering station. So that's what's coming. And these 2 transistors, I just found them. Where to go? These are the transistors. They're only as big as your pinky fingernail. they're really, you can't even handle it. You need to use tweezers on this stuff. So anyway, so that's my thing for this week. Let me, all right, I'm done. I'm going to shut the phone down since I can't hear anybody, and I'm going to go back on my laptop. I'm back.
Okay, I got a question. What's the peak envelope power on that amplifier when it's running?
It's a 100-watt amplifier. So I know different bands have, it's 2 meters through, I think 80 meters.
Yeah.
And it's a AM, FM sideband. It'll do Morse code. It'll do all the stuff you could do, RITT, all that stuff. So it's 100 watts. So that, and I've measured it with a bird watt meter, and you get out just about 100, but I never did write it down, but I did write down, like right now, it'll put out 5 watts on 2 meters, 40 watts on HF, and 10 watts on 6 meters. It should be up at 100. I'm not sure if all bands you get 100. It depends on the modulation, but I can't remember. You can pull up the specs for an ICOM 746, which is probably one of the most popular radios of yesteryear. But they're still very,
746?
IC-746 Pro. IC-746.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd be curious because the amplifier, you say it's pretty old. So a lot of times the amplifiers, the old transistors they used didn't have the capability at like 2 meters, didn't have the capability to go full power. But at 80 meters, you should get every inch of it. So what you're measuring on what, with a watt meter, you said?
Yeah, bird watt meter.
Output?
Right.
Okay. So that's 100 watt peak envelope power. So AM full power, 40 watts is all you should get. It's got to be a class A or class AB amplifier.
I made power measurements probably back in 2013, 14 when I bought this thing.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't had a watt meter on since. So
Okay.
I can't remember what the numbers were. That's why I gave you the number of the radio. It'll give you the specs on it.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I have accurate dummy loads if you need them.
The power it's putting out right now is not right. It's got 2 sets of outputs. One set of outputs are strictly for 2 meters, and the other set of outputs are for 6 meters and HF. But all the stages up to the outputs, there's a million relays in this thing. All the stages from when you get the initial frequency that comes out of another board that's on the bottom, and it comes into the 3 driver boards, the 3 driver stages. Those stages all are working okay. The first 3 stages are okay, and then the last stage called the driver board before the outputs is where the problem is. And after that driver board, it goes into a set of relays, and that's where the signal splits. Depending what frequency you pick, it goes to either the 2 meters or the HF.
Right,
So they use all the same electronics for all the frequencies right up until the finals.
right, okay. The final amplifier is different for
Right.
2 meters,
Right.
yeah. Because the transistors you probably got in for the other ones won't handle the high frequency, won't give you any output. But they do drop off. That's why I'm not surprised. Because if that's 100-watt peak envelope power input, which is normally how they're rated, okay, it's only going to give you 50-60% because it's a linear amplifier. Even in CW, it's a linear amplifier because you don't have any. It takes Class C to get the full power.
You know, I can't remember if I measured it on AM or FM.
It wouldn't make much difference. AM fully modulated, 100% modulation is essentially the same as FM
Right.
in amount of power input. You're limited to power input in that thing because it's a linear amplifier.
I got pretty close to full power when I measured it years ago, but I can't remember what the numbers are anymore. It's too long ago.
Okay, I have well, you said you have a watt meter?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I got 2 watt meters.
okay, I'll offer one then.
Yeah,
I got some good dummy loads.
Yeah, I got a bird on the consumer watt meter that is, you know, they got 2 crossing needles and it shows the SWR, power out and all that stuff.
So that's for antennas.
Right.
Yeah, that's to get your standing waves down. I also have an antenna scope. If you ever need one, I've got some big stuff because my amplifier is 2 kW, and so I've got a water cooled dummy load even to test that little devil. So anyhow, yeah, I'd be anxious to see how it comes out.
Yeah, me too.
Because because all I could do, I don't do it anymore. But when I did do solder things, I have a sniffer. I have 2 of them. One's a little bulb thing that you squeeze, and the other one's a load. You push it and load it up, and then when you get the solder, it's got the little nozzle down there, and you push the button and it sucks.
Yeah, I've got 2 of those things, and they work
It
great.
don't work worth a damn.
Well, they work good on commercial stuff where you've got more room to work with.
Yeah,
But on stuff like this, the stuff is so close together.
right.
I just need better equipment to work on this, and that's why I ordered all this stuff.
Yep.
I've
Well,
never
sounds like a good problem.
I've never used hot air soldering before. So
Yeah. Sounds like a good problem. I'll be interested how it comes out.
yeah. I'm not real over enthused about doing this since my radio's been down now for a couple of months, and I'll be down now for at least another, until I get the equipment and get it out and try to do this project.
Yeah.
So I'm real, when I come, wants you to go out and buy a new radio.
Well, that's a reasonable thing to do, Paul.
Hey, I fix things that are impossible.
I know you do. It's a good job too.
Hey, do you guys remember last year I did a video that I showed you guys on a sewing machine repair?
Yep.
Yeah.
So while I was listening to Mike, I had my email open, and I just got a comment on the sewing machine. He was liking the video. He was having the same problem. He didn't give me too much detailed information, but he was having a similar problem. He says that's going to help me get started on finding my problem. So see what happens. I haven't gone to YouTube yet. I only got the email that came through in my email from a comment from YouTube. I'm done.
Okay. By the way, I did find the Jitsi camera that was open, and I've closed it, but I still am not able to make my camera work. I think maybe I got too many windows open, and I'll just have to shut everything down and try it again, unless anybody else has any other ideas. Nope. Okay. All right, who's next? Sean looks like he's off on a break or something. Ken?
I'll go up next.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
I was sitting in my eye doctor's office and sort of a captive audience, and they had a monitor up there that was telling all kinds of medical stuff, and one of them was on dry eyes. My wife suffers from dry eyes, and they mentioned, and the doctor mentioned that if you have dry eyes, you should get a air purifier. That this affects your dry eyes. It improves if you do that. And so I got on Wirecutter, and it listed the best air purifier. And so my wife bought that, and we're now using it in our bedroom, and it seems to work. They have 3 different filters in them, depending on what size of particle that you're. It has HPA, whatever it is, the best one, and so it's a Coway AP-1512HH, COWAY, and we're very pleased with it. So I didn't know that fact that dry eyes are affected by. I got on YouTube on Wikipedia, and that was one of the things they listed, that you should pollution has a big effect. And of course, with all these fires in California and Oregon and Washington, all those clouds and smoke are drifting towards the East Coast, and they're already being affected in New York. Those pollution. So it'll be just a matter of time before it reaches Florida. That's all I have.
Interesting on dry eye. I had surgery on one eye last week, and we're talking to the doctor, and they say a lot of dry eye is caused by computer use. The average person blinks 16 times a minute, but when you're on a computer, you blink as little as 3 times a minute, and that causes dry eye. It's interesting. I suffer a little bit from dry eye, not too much, but I certainly spend a lot of time looking at a computer.
I wonder whether that's the same with iPads and iPhones.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Sean, you're back. You got anything for us?
Just a couple things. I just got a new light bulb. Oh, me and light bulbs. All right, so let me see. Should I share my screen?
We have to let you do that. Let me see.
That's all right. It's the light bulb is a floodlight that has a motion sensor built into it. The reason I got it is I've got a staircase that has one of those recessed can lights up in the ceiling. It's way up there, and I'd like to be able to just go up and down those stairs without having to flip the light switch on and off each time. So I got this light bulb off of Amazon. Let me see if it lets me share. Here we go. So this is the light bulb here. Can you see it?
Yes.
And 15 bucks was I thought it was a little bit pricey, but I could have gotten 2 for $22, something like that, but I only needed 1. I don't foresee ever needing another one of these because my outside lights are they have motion sensors built into the fixture. This particular can light is obviously just that, it's a can light, so I wanted this light to come on. I have yet to install it. It just came today. And next I got I have a MacBook Pro that started failing, or at least I thought it was failing in May. and I wound up replacing that with a MacBook Air, which has been working great. And I decided to see what I could do with that MacBook Pro. It's from 2013, and I decided to try installing this Pop! OS on it. This is a Linux distribution. It was recommended by one of the people I follow on YouTube, who I've learned a lot from, and he just loves this operating system. The foundation of Pop! OS is Ubuntu, but this company called System 76 actually takes that operating system and then adds a wrapper to it that makes it. The interface is called the Cosmic Desktop, and it's all kinds of customizations. I'll put a link to this on the in the notes so you guys can click on it and look at it and see what you think. But it's really for folks that are interested in Linux. So I'll talk about it during the Linux SIG. So I think that's it for me.
Okay. I sent out an email a few days ago about Steven Steck. I can't recall his last name. Got a few people coming back saying, yes, they did remember him. Mike Ungerman said he recalled the face, not the name. And Huey, did you not do a bunch of work for him when he was doing some scanning of some papers, as I recall?
No, actually, what I did is help him with his home network and set up a whole backup system for him. When he left WMFE, the PBS station, he was CEO and general manager of it, or president of it.
Yep.
And after he retired, he started an online radio show about local history, where he interviewed various people, and it was very interesting and very involved. But he was doing it from home, and he wanted to make sure he backed up everything and was able to work with it and do all the editing there. And I helped him put the network together, and we got to be pretty good friends. But I had met him originally, I believe, either at a CFCS meeting, or it might have been at one of the bar camp Orlando's, and then he joined CFCS from that. I can't remember. It's getting older. But yeah, he used to come to some meetings. He and I have remained friends and remained friends on Facebook as well over the years, and we comment back and forth. And yeah, he was an amazing guy, and
Yep.
he has done like over 40,000 miles of bicycling, 2,000 days straight or something like that. And he gets hit and killed by a car near UCF,
Yes.
which is near where he lived. He lived in Oviedo.
He'd been taking a daily bike ride for I don't know how many thousands of days, but that was something he just always
Yeah.
did. So,
But he went up the whole East Coast, and I think he went out west too
me
by
too.
bicycle. He'd stop at a hotel overnight and then continue on. And I don't know that anybody followed him with a car or not, but he used to do a journal on Facebook and take pictures on his whole trips too. Amazing guy.
Yep.
77.
Yep. Too bad. Rest in peace. All right. Who else? Anybody has anything more for us?